is Friday, and you know what that means. We've got ourselves another episode of the Captain of Madden show. Mike Madden here on my end. I'm going to be bringing on the captain, Mike Corby, on the other end. Captain, are you with us? Are you there?
Mr. Madden, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, just hunky dory.
Pleasantries aside, we are talking about band breakups today, musical breakups, not necessarily in song. I know I just used the breakup song by the Greg Kinn Band, a one-hit wonder, some would say. But we're talking about band breakups, the good, the bad, the ugly, the short-lived, the long-lived, and all points in between today. Little backstory. Captain and I are well-traveled music aficionados and also former workers in the music industry.
That's kind of a stretch. But
It's not a stretch. It's not a stretch. We worked in music at the height of music retail. In the late 90s, early aughts. And I think...
You see, kids, at one time, people used to come in and they had a choice between cassette and CD.
Yes, cassette, CDs, DVDs and video cassettes were in the same boat as well. But yeah, so we've seen our fair share of changes in the musical landscape, and some of the bands we will talk about were around in those days and were either flash in the pans or ended up being quote unquote rock and roll Hall of Famers. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and I think you probably saw the same when you were doing your research for the episode. If you're looking for a band that, it's hard to find a band that never broke up. Some of these bands have splintered off and they never really left, but every single guy from the band is out of there, and it's just a singer or a guitar player or some fragment of the band, and then other ones are two or three members of a formerly four-piece band are still floating around. So I think that's really that's kind of a subcategory here where you've got not only the bands that broke up, but then you'll also run into these bands that sort of have these splinter cell situations.
Yeah. It's the bass player, the guitar player, and the drummer, but they got a new lead singer, or it's the lead singer with a whole new backing band, or it's sadly, you think about some where they're, you think of some of the older groups, like the doo-wop groups and stuff, where they kind of split up, but then, a lot of the guys are no longer with us, and it's
Rest in peace.
guys that were replacement or girls that were replacements, and they were quote unquote in the band longer than the original members. So
that's true. Yeah, that's a funny thing to sort of find when you're digging and you're doing your research, that oh, that guy stinks. I hated when he joined the band. Meanwhile, he's been in the band for 30 freaking years, and everybody else is off the boat except for him and the singer. And it's like, all right, well, I guess if he could tolerate, the dynamics of the group, then he deserves a little bit of praise. So we're not really listing as much as we are kind of I guess jump around to some different categories. I think historically we should be first talking about the bands that have, in the history of rock and roll, that have meant the most when it comes to breaking up and still leaving an indelible mark or an impact. The almost the Mount Rushmore of broken up bands. Anybody that you can think of off the top of your head that you're thinking, once they broke up, it was like major front page news and nobody really got over it.
Well, I'm a little too young to. I mean, obviously, you would probably think of the Beatles.
Yeah, well, yes.
But I was not born when the Beatles broke up. But
okay, you can still be sad about it.
Oh yeah, I was heartbroken when I was born, and they told me, by the way, Ringo doesn't talk to John anymore. The one that like I can kind of like the first that I can really remember, where it was shocking, and it was kind of divisive would have been Van Halen breaking up
Sure.
because
Yeah.
then Roth leaves the band, whether he was kicked out or if he left or whatever, but then the you know the Van Halen brothers plus Michael Anthony, they get Sammy Hagar,
Hmm.
and some people, people knocked it. That it still sold millions of records. You
Oh
would
yeah.
hear people who
Yeah.
would referred to them as Van Hagar,
And
and
they
it was
almost
you
called the
know
band Van Hagar. Like that was, that's not just like a sort of a
right.
retcon statement. Yeah.
But it was it was very just decisive. It was one of those like whose side did you take?
Hmm.
Are about? Meanwhile, they were still. I mean, it wasn't like they stopped playing the old Roth, songs and
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
When they went out, they still did Jump, they still did Hot for Teacher, stuff like that. Eddie always did Eruption, which
Well, that's
whatever.
his tune. Yeah. Yeah.
That, but yeah, that was like the first I can kind of remember. Like, really, they got rid of Dave, like, and then he's all over doing like the 50s or 40s and 50s kind of like front man, like
Wabbity bobbity bop. Yeah. Yeah.
boozy boozy bop.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Like the
Dave TV and
soft shoe Dave.
so which it was almost kind of like, really, why'd you guys have to break up? We had to deal with that shit, like, but
Hmm.
yeah, that was like the first that I can kind of like. I was old enough to know the impact of Van Halen, even though a lot of their earlier stuff was before music was really in my conscious,
Hmm.
subconscious or
Yeah.
consciousness. But I grew up on MTV, man, and Van Halen was huge on MTV.
They were part of it for sure. And that's, you know, it's interesting because they did have that. They had a couple different like brief reunions. I guess it was 96, 97 when they got back together. The original Van Halen's were like, let's bust Sammy out of here and let's bring old Diamond back for the greatest hits. And we do a couple new songs. Maybe we'll go on a tour. That imploded immediately. And I think they took Dave out for real on tour in the 2000s, right? I'm trying to
They had
think.
so many different coming. Like they did the. I mean, obviously, Van Hagar
Hmm. Yeah.
lasted
Yeah.
for a while. Then they brought Dave back when they did the. I guess it was their first greatest hits or best
Yeah,
of.
that's what I'm saying.
They
Yeah.
recorded a new. That was probably mid '90s or and that pretty much was a disaster as soon as it happened. And then there was that brief moment, like a few years later, where you had Gary Sharon in the
Yes.
band,
Yes.
former Extreme, and they did a tour,
Hmm.
which oddly enough, the tour got a lot of like pretty decent press because Sharon was a pretty big fan of Van Halen,
Hmm.
and they were playing songs that they hadn't played, and he was kind of, as they like to say on Q104.3, they were playing songs off the back wall,
That's true.
some rarities and stuff like that. But then they like went back to Hagar, toured for a while, recorded again.
Hmm. Yep.
Then they did Roth for Then
Yeah, they were
there was
playing
a
ping pong.
rumor that they were trying to do like actually have both of them on tour, and like Dave would come out and do some of his songs.
Hmm.
Then Hagar would come out and do some of the songs that Dave recorded, and then there was supposed to be some sort of collaboration in the end. But
Yeah.
that, unfortunately, I don't think ever. I
Well,
think I think Roth put a pin in that one
well,
pretty quick.
Dave and Sammy did a tour together where they were like one night one guy was the headliner, the other night the other guy was the headliner, and they traded
Right.
back and forth, and that lasted for probably 2 months in a summer, and then it was like, all right, well, even if we're solo, we really can't get along all that well. Our shared hatred of the Van Halen brothers doesn't make for a better experience. But yeah, I think you're right. Like just getting back to the original, like this was a big story in the 80s, 80, 85, 86 when when the first change happened with Van Halen, and although not a breakup per se, where they just became total separate entities, it's still a breakup of the original lineup that people took super seriously. Getting back to although it was before our time, like the Beatles, the thing about the Beatles, and this is how I sort of frame it. Unfortunately, John Lennon murdered in 1980. I think that band eventually would have gotten back together. You look at the landscape of the way that the 80s rolled around and the nostalgia that was pretty strong. And those guys were all still top tier celebrities and musicians, and they had their long careers and whatnot. But I think by the time like 85, like they would have done Live Aid. They would have been involved with like, a lot of the charity music, and they probably would have said like, well, forget the egos, leave them at the door. We're going to go out on tour, or we're going to play selected dates. Do you think it could have been good?
This is where I'm going to kind of disagree with you.
Oh,
I
don't think
the
they would
Beatles
have. Really?
I think they would have got back together for, like you said, like something like Live Aid, or sadly, like one of those, anytime there was like a benefit, or like maybe if there were, obviously when, the Beatles got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
yeah,
they would have
right.
got back together and played, but I don't know if they would have done a full tour. I think they would have done like, hey, it's like a TV, maybe like, TV specials or something like that. I don't know how much like Lennon would have really been into being a Beatle more than one night. I don't know if he could have done like, I mean, McCartney still loves the tour.
Sure.
And he
yeah.
loves going. I don't know if Lennon had that. I don't know if he was like really big into, going out and being on tour for like a year and a half. I think he would have put up with it for, one night, or like, hey, we're going to do a TV special because it's the, 30th anniversary of Sergeant Pepper's, and they'll rehearse for a couple of weeks, and then do a, on CBS tonight, CBS salutes the Beatles and blah 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 or something like that. But I don't know if they would have really ever done like a full tour.
You're thinking that wouldn't have been on
just because I just don't think I don't think Lennon would have ever really. I don't think, because you would think, all right, yeah, he left us way too soon, but that was 10 years. I mean, 80, and there really wasn't any hint 10 years after they broke up that really any of them really wanted to be in a room together or do anything together, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think like, all right, so again, the speculative part of my brain goes, they stopped doing anything live in 65 or 66. So they never toured behind Rubber Soul. They never toured behind White Albums and Abbey Road, and so the really like innovative stuff they were doing in the studio was obviously just lives in sort of that vacuum of this is studio music. I think there probably would have been an ambitious concert promoter that would have said like, hey, look what we're doing with, and you're right. Like McCartney always, kept himself on the road. Ringo was eventually became like a theater and amphitheater type performer. Harrison would play like charity concerts and did his own thing, sporadically. But I think at some point somebody would have said, hey, based on the technology, we think we can have you guys on stage with an orchestra. So any of the stuff that you did that was orchestral on your records, like, let's take you guys out on a tour of, the Beatles at Red Rocks probably would have like blown everybody's mind away if they had made it happen in like 84 or 85, let's say. So I'm just spitballing like I think that there would have been somebody that was that dangled the carrot enough, maybe not for the money, and believe me, like I think historically speaking, all of those guys are pretty well to do, but I think just in the aspect of you had so much music that you were never able to take out on the road, we're going to figure out a way to get you guys there and make it worth your while so you have like this, world beating experience.
I just think they were making too much money being the Beatles without having to be the Beatles.
Okay.
Especially, Lennon would have lived through, you know, vinyl going into cassette, cassette going into CDs, remastering all of their like original catalog. Every generation, the Beatles are kind of like your here's your introduction to music. This is how everyone kind of gets started by it because you know it's kind of kid friendly or whatever. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Palatable.
I just think I don't know. I'm not saying they would have never got, but like I said, they would have done some television or they definitely would have got back and like, recorded some songs or something like that. But
Yeah.
I just don't think there would have ever really been, like tonight at Giant Stadium, is the Beatles. Like, I just don't see where they would have done a massive, like world tour.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Led Zeppelin, another one before our time. They've done exactly what you said. Like after John Bonham passed away, they've done the occasional, get-togethers where the surviving members have played with, you know, uh, you know, different musicians for like one night only, or they've released collaboration albums, and but they've never done that, or they never did that. Let's hit the road, and even if it's a short string of dates, like in England or in Japan or someplace where they're huge, or the States, whatever. They never actually patched up enough to work consistently together.
Well, Page and Plant went out on tour in the late '90s when they did that walking. I think it was called like Walking in the Clarksville or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that, or
yeah.
Clarkstown album. But the biggest thing was always that, which I always have to give him credit for, was that Robert Plant always like they got back together for I can never pronounce the man's name, but the guy from Capitol
Oh,
Ahmet.
Army Erdogan.
They did a tribute concert to
Mhm.
him, and they got back
Yes,
together, and
yeah.
then they did the O2 show, and everyone thought at that point like, oh, they're gonna take
We're getting it.
Jason Bonham's gonna like you're gonna get a Zeppelin tour,
Yeah.
and Robert Plant was just like, they're gonna charge a huge amount of money, and they're gonna want they're gonna want the Golden God, and I'm not that guy anymore, and
Right. Yeah.
I can't get up on stage knowing that these people paid that amount of money and you're not getting 1970s Robert Plant. So
That's
I always gave him credit, man. Like, I mean, could you imagine how much concert tickets would be for,
oh yeah.
for the three of them with like, whether they brought Jason Bonham out or any other drummer.
Right. Yeah, it would have been a smash. And yeah, for him to have the integrity to say like, I am not, I'm not that guy, or I can't hack it, at that level. I mean, that's unique to think. And then, that other side of it is, not being tempted to say like, well, let's just do an acoustic tour. Like, I know that again, like Page and Plant, they have collaborated, they've gone on the road, they've done their thing, but like, in that mid '90s, early '90s, like wave of like, let's try and like play bigger stadiums, and when the Stones, had their giant stadium tours, and you had Pink Floyd, out on the road in the late '80s, early '90s, and they're playing these big venues. Like, it's probably very tempting, for a Led Zeppelin to just say like, all right, well, I don't have to run around. I look at all this like audio video, these giant video walls that can like, I can show the old footage and stuff like that, for them to like pump the brakes and say like, it's not, it's not going to hold the music, and the history, in the highest regard, then better
I've always,
off that they held the temptation back.
I've always often wondered if if you listen to some of the album, like obviously Presence was more of a, that was like some lost recordings and
Mhm.
stuff, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
In Through the Outdoor, or like some of the, I always kind of got the feeling they were maybe on their way of, like maybe they would have broke up even if Bonham had not passed,
Maybe.
or
Yeah.
may have taken a very long hiatus where I just kind of get the idea that, like, I mean, Page was kind of going through some dependency problems, I think, during that time, and
Hmm.
Plant,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think was kind of looking to do some. I mean, I look at some of the stuff he did in the '80s,
Yeah.
where it was like,
Cat did the Honey Drippers.
like the tribute or whatever to like the '50s type of bands,
Yeah.
and
There
the
you go.
stuff that he grew up on. Like, I always just got a sense that, and again, I mean, they may have taken hiatus and got back together, and we'll never know because they they always said that, without Bonzo, it wasn't Led Zeppelin.
It
So
wasn't Led Zeppelin. Yeah. Very very astute. Very good point. Talking Heads. I read an article today, and even as recently, I think it was dated 2022 or 2023. There are still concert promoters that are like, "You're all still alive. What do you say, like putting the Talking Heads back together?" They split up in '91 when they put out their last full length record. They've done, like one off reunions, and they've done,
yeah,
collaborations with each other, on like a David Byrne record or, for a charity or whatnot. And they charge an arm and a leg to do these one off shows. But they're always, under the guise of charity rather than, I think the number that I saw was like a concert promoter wanted to put him out on the road for like $83 million they were going to give him. And that's like, all right. I mean, that's life-changing money for, for somebody that's struggling. And I'm sure there's probably, if you, put that sort of number in front of, a band like Bush, who I'll talk about later, and say like, you got to get all the originals back. We're not doing this just Gavin. Then I think a lot of people would have jumped and have probably jumped at that chance and either made it successful or made fools out of themselves. But I think Talking Heads sort of belongs in that conversation of integrity before greed, where you're like, all right, good for them for standing firm and not not cowering and saying like, we need the money so bad, we're going to do this.
By the way, Juan Soto said that he wouldn't wipe his ass for $83 million.
That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah, Talking Heads is a weird one, just because it's like they broke up. It there are moments where it seems like there, certain band members are into getting back together and certain aren't,
Yeah.
and then the constant just seems to be David Byrne doesn't, like, I guess, I don't know, he doesn't seem to want to relive that, or I guess I mean, I know nowadays he's doing the thing on Broadway,
Yeah.
and he's performing the Talking Heads songs in a way that he wants to present it with, it's kind of got like a drumline band or something. Like, it was, I don't know, I saw the thing on Saturday Night Live, but he seems to be more into doing that than wanting to get the band back together and doing you would think, like maybe one of these places like Vegas or something would just be like, why don't you do a residency?
Well,
If you don't want to do a tour, have people come to you rather than you going out to other
right.
places,
Right.
because it wouldn't be that much different than doing basically his Broadway show. Seems like it's like, I mean, I know it's performance or whatever, but it's like you could pretty much do the same thing with the Talking Heads if you wanted to.
I think that comes down to like creative control for him, and that's actually that was the example that I was going to bring up. Like, instead of like a Vegas residency, which could work for them, depending on how long they were doing it and what sort of set list they put together, but like they could, because they do have an element in their music that is a bit theatrical. If you ever watch Stop Making Sense, it's not just a concert film. There's some audio video stuff that really like was ahead of its time, and shout out to Jonathan Demme. But that's the type of thing where in this current modern way of musicians presenting themselves, especially like classic rock musicians, Springsteen had that Broadway show, and even like has done these sort of like intimate tours where he's able to kind of explain their music, the music that he wrote and the E Street Band, played together. Imagine if Talking Heads was able to say, like, they were able to get together and say, like, all right, we're going to present this in sort of, in a more theatrical way, which tells the story of the history of our band, and maybe there's a narrative to it, and they could get creative, and people would probably flip out for that. I guess maybe there's a push and pull with the other band members, or maybe they don't want to commit to doing that because they've got other projects or other things that occupy their time, and they're not in their 30s anymore. But maybe that's that would be the sort of the thing that I think that they would succeed in this day and age. Is, you're right, like, let the audience come to you in one place, and don't necessarily go through the grind of station to station touring, or large venue, small venue, whatever it is, like just another house, another night is, that's a bit grueling for folks, over the age of 50 these days. So
imagine all the giant suits that David Byrne could buy with $83 million.
Yeah. I mean, you could custom make a suit for, he wouldn't get all 83.
Oh,
it's got to be split 4 ways. All
right. So 20 million. That's a really nice big,
it's a nice,
that's a giant suit.
That's a big suit. He needs to get a ladder to get his head into the neck of the suit. Money grab, other money grab brands that turned it down. The Smiths broke up in '87, and everybody through the years have said, "Go ahead, name your price, guys. Just get back together, the original band, and go out on the road, or get Johnny and Morrissey to patch things up." And they're like, "Nah, we hate each other. We're not dealing with each other anymore." So I think they're another band that sort of like puts, they put their integrity out there, and we're not dealing with our own shit on Front Street. And the other one that I wrote, like another band that probably could, and time will tell because they're up for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but the White Stripes. Meg doesn't want to do any touring. She doesn't want to. I don't even know if she like plays drums anymore. She might just sew and just hang out at home. But she doesn't like that rock and roll life. Jack will tour with you just pick 5 guys out at like at a musician studio, and he's like, I'm taking them out on the road, and we're gonna play for 3 hours and blow everybody's minds out. I guess they're the most modern out of the bands that I took some notes on. I did get a chance to see them once, and I would like to see the original lineup of the White Stripes one more time, because it was very early in their run.
Okay. Honestly, you're saying that Jack White can't just stroll down to Nashville and find some girl that kind of looks like Meg White?
No.
You think anybody would, like, nobody would, like, if you got a brunette, put her in a red and white outfit and just said, "Here, bang on the drums a little bit," nobody would know. Nobody would know the difference.
It could probably the girl in Sleater Kinney. He could probably be like, "Go ahead, you're my drummer now." Like, and we're the new White Stripes. But you'd have to be the new White Stripes. See, I don't think Jack doesn't backpedal, and Jack doesn't say like, "Well, because he's sort of the mastermind when it comes to that." Like, you can't call it the White Stripes. We can't do a whole night of the songs that made us famous and the covers that we, grew up playing, and call it something else. Like, this is, so Jack can play White Stripe songs all that he wants, but it's never going to be one night of just Stripe songs. And I think, like, I know they were on the road for probably 10 or 15 years and every way, shape, or form. But yeah, that would be a type of band where it's like, all right, is paying more than $100 worth it? To go see an act reunited and out on the road again. Well, if it's the original White Stripes, I might consider it. Maybe I'm being cheap.
I, I'm perfectly fine paying $100 to just go see Jack White.
Okay. You
Not,
get more songs, and I know he's got a ever growing catalog and a lot of he's got a lot of really great connections with new musicians that he's collaborated with over the last 15, 20 years, away from the Stripes. But there's a magic of Jack and Meg. I'm really getting I'm really selling this.
Yeah. I'm not buying, but yeah,
All right,
you're
okay.
really trying to sell this.
I am. All right, so
I'll be perfect. You know what? For $50, I'd go see Jack White with fake Meg White.
Okay, bootleg Meg,
The bootleg Meg. Hey, wait a minute! I don't remember Meg White being African American.
Nice.
Wouldn't care.
7 feet tall now. Boy, she can really beat those skins.
Man,
So
that's a really god awful 5 o'clock shadow Meg's got on.
Meg's blonde. All right, so moving away from the bands that broke up and never rekindled for a long term on the road, let's talk about the bands that hit the skids, broke up, and then decades later, at least one decade later, decided, all right, it's worth it. Let's get back out and let's play dates rather than doing a one-off appearance or stuff like that. The first on my list, of course, is going to be Guns N' Roses. And I know if somebody wants to come at me and say, well, technically Guns N' Roses, Axl controlled the band name and that's not Guns N' Roses. You need 3/5 of the original band to allow me to consider it to be really Guns N' Roses. But they've done now, I think, 3 world tours since 2016. And they seem to be getting along extremely well, and they've got another tour announced. How do you feel? Should this is going to be my question for a lot of this chunk of the bands we're talking about. Was it worthwhile for them to do it, in your opinion? And do you see it sustaining any longer than maybe another run out there on the road?
All right, I know you're a big GNR guy, and Appetite for Destruction, anytime you put some sort of the greatest albums or whatever, it's definitely got to be, it's got to be on a list, whether it's top 20, top 25, whatever.
Okay.
It's not only the best probably debut album, it's one of the best, beginning to end, albums of all time.
Right.
With that said,
okay, here come you're lowering the boom. You're going to lower the boom on me here.
I got really tired of Axl's bullshit during, the years that followed. The the doing 40 minutes of a set and something not going right and he leaves, or not going on till 1 o'clock in the morning, or all that other. By the time GNR got back together, I felt it was almost 10 years too late. Nobody, I really didn't give a shit. I was more disappointed that something like Velvet Revolver didn't, that the original, that Slash and Duff, and whether they got Gilby Clarke or Izzy Stradlin, Matt Sorum, whatever. You could have found a better drummer. I just felt it was like Waiting for Chinese Democracy. It was took 13 years, and it was a piece of crap. It just, okay. I just felt with the GNR, the Axl bullshit it just drained on you, and then by the time you, and it's just like, and it's like how, why are you making it so like you have a legion of fans that, 20 years after you were even relevant, are waiting for you to tour and
Hmm.
are basically saying, "Hey, you go on a tour, we're gonna come back. We're gonna shell out money and we're gonna come to the shows."
Right.
And it was like it was like just a freaking kid. He was just like, "Well, we'll go back on tour, but actually, you got to be on stage at 8 o'clock. You have to show up on time, and you have to go." And it's just like, if it's that hard, if it's that, then is it really worth it? I know you've gone back to a couple of
Hmm.
the shows,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I'm still a fan of GNR. The songs of theirs that I really like, I still listen to, and I'm sure if I had the opportunity, like somebody had an extra ticket and whatever, like I'll go. But I just felt like everyone was so fired up about it, and
Hmm.
I thought it was 10 or 15 years too late, and secretly had always hoped that the original guys, whether it was whether they got back together, when they did the thing with Wyland or
Hmm.
Miles Kennedy or whatever, I had always hoped that that had taken off, that something came out of that, so that basically they could turn around and just say, "Fuck you,
Yeah.
Axel."
You're not
Like
right.
I'm not. I just
Eh.
I was a GNR guy that came out like right in the time that I was like, I mean, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 were like my freshman year in high school,
Hmm. Yeah.
and they were the biggest things in rock
Of
music.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
And it just the act his act in my mind always just got tired. It just
Okay.
got tired and played out.
That makes sense. I mean, that's more on the business side and the control of the band and holding off to perfect a record that even when it came out it wasn't perfect and there was obvious like overproduction to try and get it that way. I just it was so the first time when I saw them on the reunion would have been 27 summer 2017. It was excellent. They were great. This past time, I was like, this would be better if it's in a smaller venue. We don't need to be playing stadiums. Give me let me scale this back. Give me a Guns N' Roses at a theater or an amphitheater, and they would probably change a lot of people's minds. The problem is that the lure and the price tag, and we talked before about the integrity of Talking Heads or Zeppelin turning down the money to like go up and reunite for a stadium tour or a big event. Guns N' Roses, like once they decided, like, all right, we're putting our differences aside and we're going to start the Not in Its Lifetime tour, which lasted for 2.5, 3 years. It was sort of like, all right, well, maybe like that was the one off, and we can kind of make a record now or like do something where we get creative together. Instead, it was like, all right, well, we took off after the pandemic. All right, we're starting a tour again. So, and it really didn't change that much. Like they spottily threw like a few songs that had been in their archives, and that got retooled. Yeah, we're gonna just throw them up on Spotify, or like we're gonna make an EP or whatever it is. Like, but you're not gonna get like us writing and collaborating in the way that they used to. So like it's as good as it is to see, in my opinion, as a huge fan, to see them out on tour and playing at least one tour of stadiums. Now I think they would be more beneficial if they scale things back and they were a little bit more economical with how they handle their reunion, and we'll see what happens after this next big set of stadium dates that they have in Europe and Asia in this coming summer. Maybe they'll get a little bit more humble and realize that they don't have to be part of it. The Police also did they did their reunion. What was that? 2015
Yeah,
when they went out.
they came, yeah, they toured for a while because they came in this area. Uh, they played two different venues. I felt like it was about a year apart.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, one of my biggest regrets was at the time, not being able to get a ticket, because I would have enjoyed that very much. I'm still. I don't know if they went. I mean, I know Sting still kind of tours.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what condition Copeland and God, I always forget the guitar player. I just don't know what
Hmm.
shape they're in, whether they could do another tour or how good it would be. But yeah, that was definitely one where I was bummed that I got shut out both times that they played in the area. Um, they were just a really good band, and would have enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and I think there's that much of a difference in Sting's uh, solo work as opposed to his police work. That's just a funny way to phrase that.
Yeah.
The forensic and the all the the discovery phase of everything. But no, the there's enough of a difference that they do feel like two separate entities. And I know that Sting will go out on tour and he'll do a good amount of police tunes and probably like with a big full like 7-piece band they probably sound great, but like there's something to be said for like a slim down, scale down 3 or maybe 4-piece version of that, having at it and making it sound more like the originals. So you would endorse them if they were to continue or get themselves back out on the road to play some dates, right?
Oh yeah, I would. As long as they were capable of doing it. I mean,
Hmm.
you know,
Nobody's young.
Sting did do an interesting tour. I want to say it was right before the Police reunion, the first one, or the first leg of it, I guess you could say, where he was playing like colleges,
Really?
and he
Okay.
had it was basically a four-piece band. It was him, a drummer, and two guitar players, and it was kind of going back to that, the early Police sound, like even some of his solo stuff that he was doing was trying to sound more of like, I guess, like the earlier new wave, I
Hmm.
guess, when he was in the Police. And it was he I forget what talk show it was. I don't know if it was Kimmel or Conan or somewhere. He popped on or whatever with this new band or whatever. That, I mean, he toured just as Sting, whatever. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they did a Police song on there. Um, and it was, two guitar players, one guy, it really did kick ass. And
Okay. Good.
as much as, it would be awesome to see the Police back together, if they're not physically able to do it, I would like to see Sting do something more like that, where it's less like him playing really weird instruments that nobody knows how to pronounce,
Yeah.
like 9 string, whatever,
Yeah.
blah blah
A
blah.
12
And
string bass doesn't sound great.
then he's got like, a 13-piece band behind him and all this stuff. Like, I'd like somewhere cool, like imagine seeing Sting with like a 4-piece band like in the Beacon Theater.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That would
Exactly.
be that would I'd be down for that. But for first and foremost, it would definitely, if I got my chance to go see um, a Police reunion, would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it. I think. Yeah. I think they qualify as a band that people would be interested in checking out, and maybe they have their act together. How do you feel about this Oasis reunion?
Um, they're a band that, like, I really enjoyed their first record,
Okay.
and they were another band that, which each record, the growing tension, like they kind of became annoying,
Okay. All right.
because it was like, is this the night that, it was like when they finally broke up, it was just like, well, we've been waiting for them to break up for like 5 6 years. Like
Yeah.
they're constantly, the two brothers are constantly getting into fights and punching each other like backstage. Like, um, again, you would hope. Look, that rock, if you want to say rock music, or going back to the classical. I mean, it's sad to say that Oasis is a classic rock band now.
Technically,
Um,
yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, you'd hope that these guys, if they're gonna go out on tour, and you know that everyone is really excited about it, and you're selling tickets, like, God, just if you don't like each other, just go on separate tour buses, only deal with each other on stage, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
make sure you get through, whatever it is. You're doing 45 dates, you're doing 50 dates. Do the 50 dates. Don't cancel any shows. Give whatever give a 2-hour show that the people have paid for.
Hmm.
And then if you realize after whatever the amount of, 50 or whatever, that you really don't like each other, then that's it. Just
Right.
don't get 30, don't get like 25, 30 dates into this and break up again. And then
Yeah,
you got like 20 shows of people that got fucked. You know what I mean? Like
I know. Yeah, that's
you just kind of hope that they're gonna hold it together for whatever it is. If it's just this summer tour or whatever amount of months that it is.
make that
Just
quick commitment.
yeah.
I
You don't have to get back in the studio. You don't have to record
No.
new music.
No. Nobody
Just
wants to
go
hear
out,
that.
Play the songs that play you a little music. Play you a little.
Damn. Play your tambourine.
play your Beatles rip-off songs.
Hey, come
make
on.
everybody
Come on.
happy.
That
And
was only the third album. My big thing with Oasis is just what you said. It's the other shoe's going to drop at some point. There's going to be a lot of I think there's going to be great reviews of this tour because when they had their act together, and I saw them twice, they were dynamic. They were really, really solid. And when they weren't, and you see footage of them, sort of muttering under their breath or not the rest of the band is playing and Liam just has his back turned to the audience or is just making, asshole faces at his brother or vice versa. The brother, wants to start a song quicker and he just wants to. So there's going to be and again in this day and age with musicians as celebrities and people care more about the gossip and what was this song written about? That must be tension and so they're going to eat it up. They're going to get headlines for it. Concert footage is going to go viral. So you're hoping for the good side of that so that they can say at the end of it, hey, we survived it. Do not accept the bag of money to come to the United States and do this because they're just doing dates in Europe, right? This is just England, Ireland, and Wales, right? Are they playing U.S. dates?
I thought they had a couple of U.S. dates, but I could be.
Fuck. Shit.
Well,
that's where it messes up. When you have to take a
Yeah.
transcontinental flight and you're coming, over to the United States and you're cranky to begin with, and then it's we have to play, Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, or we wanted to play Fenway, or we wanted to play Wrigley Field, but it's a summer and we can't get our dates booked, and they're gonna throw fits at playing football stadiums that are, it's too expensive to go, and that leads to all this other tension. Avoid it. Play a 6-week tour in your bread and butter. Honor the fans there. You'll get a ton of press. If it comes out on the right side, you can assess this and see if it makes sense a year from now or 2 years from now, and choose that instead of, which dare I say, there's got to be a reason why they're getting together after 30 years. It's not just hey, what a fun reunion from our first record. No, there's somebody that's dangling the bag in front of them saying ooh, boys, look, play nice and we'll give you all this cash.
To your point, you play Boston, you play New York, you play DC, Chicago, LA.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't play Tallahassee, Florida, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to play every hit the big markets, hit the places that
Mm-hmm.
Whether you play the Garden or I don't know. It's hard to tell anymore. There are bands that sell out the Madison Square Garden, and I don't even know who the hell they are.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, do you really think Oasis would sell out MetLife Stadium? The Garden, I would not be they're going to sell out the Garden, and they'll probably sell a couple nights. but I don't know if they sell out, football stadium
It was interesting.
in the U.S.
It's interesting. I mean, I think
So
because
like, but
there's buzz, but
play, you play whatever. I don't even remember what it's called now. You hit the arena in Boston. You play the Garden.
yeah, yeah,
Play DC. Go out and play. The Staples Center in L.A.
yeah. They have a million
Uh,
fucking arenas out in Los Angeles that they could play in. I think
you know what I
there's
mean? Like you hit the major markets,
mm-hmm.
and then you know what? If you survive it, and you realize, oh wow, we really enjoy, like, take a couple months off, and then you can do, like, hey, we're playing Columbus, Ohio, and we're playing,
I wouldn't
blah blah
even.
blah.
No, well, that's listen. If the money's right, they'll play these
Yeah.
in between places, but it does not make it in this day and age. Touring is the only way that acts make money, and a concert promoter will put it out there, and they will charge an arm and a leg, and you will not sell tickets in mid markets for a band from England that was popular 20 years ago, 25 years ago at this point. So heed my warning,
Hey.
Gallagher brothers. The
Hey.
United States is tour poison for you.
Def Leppard is selling out City Field. So
Wow,
I
come
mean,
on. Come on.
I mean,
They're not charging $300, are they?
ah,
But they also have like
$300.
6 bands with them, I'm
I'm
sure.
sure. I'm sure the meet and greets are probably like $3,000,
Yeah,
and they
that's
sell
true.
all
These
the
fucking things.
I that's one thing I will say. Like, I cannot. I don't understand the concert business anymore.
No.
There, like I said, there are just bands that you would think like, oh yeah, that's an art center show. What do
Mhm.
you mean they're playing MetLife? Like,
Yeah.
oh, who the hell's gonna go and see them in a football stadium?
Right.
But
right.
these people, I think because of COVID, I think everybody is so, like, because they couldn't see live shows for like 9 months. Everybody now, everyone is just like,
I'll go to any concert I want to.
you
And
they'll go to anything now, and
Yeah.
I'll pay whatever. It's $500 a ticket. Okay, I'll put it on my credit card and I'll pay it off like in installments or what. And you're just like, you kidding me?
poor people. Lincoln Park's going to tour.
Oh, are we gonna start the category of bands that are reuniting, but somebody in the band is dead?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot of that, like replacement singer stuff. But this is the type of thing. All right, so unfortunately, what's his name? Chester Bennington.
Right. The guy that screams, not
so-
the guy that raps.
Right, the guy that the scream in the group, not available due to suicide. But okay, just tell them you're doing a tribute to Linkin Park with some of the original members and a different singer. You're gonna go out in Linkin Park and you're gonna like, and again, they're another one that like got paid a pretty penny to like do a reunion tour under the guise of there's this whole generation of fans that never saw us like as a full Linkin Park band like in their day, and they're still hungry to see us tour, and it's like, but you're not. There's
You're one half
extenuating
of the band.
circumstances behind, so it's not like this happened like a year into the. It's not an AC/DC situation, right? Where unfortunately the singer died, and we were still at the peak of our notoriety, or we were just climbing. So we swapped him out for another singer, and we still forged on as AC/DC after that, and all the rest of the guys in the band stuck around. This was like, for all intents and purposes, like Linkin Park was kind of a dead cell, and they had split up and stopped touring. Chester unfortunately kills himself, and then now it's like 5 years later, it's like, well, it's a good idea if we go out on the road because, hey, no other reason than fans. Okay,
It's
call it something else.
just calling it something else is always it's gonna be harder to sell.
Okay.
Linkin Park's a name, just like Stone Temple Pilots goes out on tour. They have a new singer.
Yeah, I know.
It's not Weiland. It's it's the Delio brothers and the guitar player whose name is not is I'm not remembering it,
That
but
yellow curly headed
it's
fuck.
three quarters of the band. But if they went out as something else,
Yeah.
you know, nobody's. But you put up a big sign that says, Friday night Stone Temple Pilots. You know what? The sad thing is, there probably are a couple of people that are going to show up and be like, "Oh, I didn't know the lead singer died." Whereas if something, you would have called the band something else.
Yeah.
Who the hell's that? Oh, it's the other guys from Stone Temple Pilots. They're out. It just, if you do that, then you're playing a 1,500 capacity theater. If you go out as Stone Temple Pilots, you go out as Linkin Park, or Alice in Chains, or any of these other bands that
Yeah.
the famously their singer's not around anymore. And I'm telling you, the one that I don't know if it will be this summer, but I'm telling you, by next summer, you're gonna get a Nirvana
Oh
tour
yeah.
with some,
Yeah. With Post Malone.
whether
Yeah.
whether it's Post Malone or if it's one of these female singers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It
Right.
there it's just it's there's too many of these pop up appearances that by them that you'll get it, and you'll have a ton of people that will want it, especially if it's Post Malone. They'll
True.
eat it up, and they'll sell out stadiums, and you're gonna get the internet people that are, it's not Kirk.
But this is
It's
all right.
just,
So there's a stark difference, and that's more of the I don't know. I might line it up in the AC/DC column. So Nirvana didn't necessarily, they weren't broken up. Cobain
no.
killed himself while the band was still relevant and again, arguably at the peak of their notoriety. Linkin Park had split up and was like, we're not operating as Linkin Park anymore. So maybe, all right, here's what I'll concede, and I'll give the devil
Well,
its due.
I mean, Alice in Chains, technically, I mean, they were kind of on a hiatus.
Yeah, right.
What's his name? Guitar player.
Cantrell, Jerry Cantrell.
Cantrell had put out a solo record.
Right, he did a
was
bunch of
going
stuff
out
on his
tour.
own. Yeah, yeah.
It was kind of one of those, like, I don't know what the hell is going on with Lane, but he's got to get his act together before we go back. And unfortunately, it never really happened. And unfortunately, Lane passed away from an overdose.
Mhm.
But I mean, I'm just saying, there's any, whether the band breaks up and somebody dies, or someone dies and they go out, I don't know what people expect. Someone, like, do you expect these guys never to play to each other? Like, you never to go out, never play a show together ever again?
No, that's why I've my original vitriol becomes a little bit more. I'm understanding that but I think the whole idea of it is there's money to be made, and there's people that never got to see our band, so we're just going to, like, jump back on, back on the road, and now it's it's a completely different singer that's going to be doing this, and
Look,
I don't know. I think I'm being too harsh. Sorry for being too harsh.
Well, here's a different. I think, like, okay, we're gonna get back together, and this dude, we'll use the Nirvana or whatever. Okay, so they play with Post Malone. Whether it's Post Malone or if they have, like, St. Vincent or somebody who is like it, at least they're not doing NXS where they're having a TV show where they're trying to find a new singer.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like that
Yeah.
to me is, like, that's kind of shitty.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
all right, we're gonna have, we're gonna have all these guys, and they're gonna perform every night, and then we're gonna pick somebody, and that's gonna be like, that to me is really cashing in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know, guys, original members want to get back together and play. Obviously, once somebody hears, like, oh, you guys you really want to do some shows? Okay, well, I can get you in Staples Center. I can
Hmm.
get you in here. Like
Yeah,
it's up
yeah.
to them whether or not they want to do it that big or whatever that, whether they I don't think Post Malone and Nirvana could do a club tour. I think that
No,
would
it'd be
be
too. Yeah, yeah.
it would be too chaotic.
There, it's too
Every
chaotic, and that ticket is impossible to get. Um. So yeah, the I had mentioned it earlier in the show. The bands that have only one member from their original lineup floating around. Bush. Cat, you can just call it the songs of Bush as performed by Gavin Rosdale, and then you're still playing the same size venues, man. Like, it's crazy. Trent Reznor toured for years as Nine Inch Nails, and only had a steady lineup for like what 5 years. And anytime he goes out as Nine Inch Nails, he doesn't go out as Trent Reznor. It's Nine Inch Nails. But again, the luster of it all is sort of like, are you just cashing in on the name when you're by yourself? Like Linkin Park's a different story. If it's how many people were on a Linkin Park originally? Like 12 guys. Felt like there was. But if there was like 5 guys in Linkin Park and they're just missing one, and they're swapping out, like I guess like the strength in numbers is you can do that. But when it's only one person and you still want to like, the integrity of the name is that important. And it's not just like, hey, let's do it 1 year for the anniversary of the album, and I still didn't get anybody from that album that would agree to go on the road with me. And I'm not playing stadiums or not playing the size venues that I did in our heyday. Like, is that worth it? Or should I just be honest and just say, hey, I'm the lead singer of this band and we're going to do a tribute to our old band at this smaller venue or the smaller scale tour?
again, I think it goes back to, you know, if I'm wondering what the size of the crowd is between it being announced that Bush is playing the Art Center rather than Gavin Rosdale's playing the Art Center.
Mhm.
It's it's like that name recognition. It's you're just gonna people are a lot of people are just, oh yeah, I remember those songs, blah blah blah. They're not gonna. Some of them probably didn't know who the other guys in the band were during their heyday.
Yeah, true.
Same thing as our good friends from Hershey, Pennsylvania, live.
Hmm.
There are some people that are very upset that it's just Ed Kowalczyk and a bunch of other guys, whereas everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I remember their video. I remember their song." If the bald headed dude ain't there, then they'd be like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like,
Yeah.
they're not gonna know that a band with two Chads that both Chad, neither one of the Chads are there.
Well, it's not worth it if there's no Chads here.
Not to be kind of picky, but Nine Inch Nails I've never been the biggest fan of Nine Inch Nails,
Hmm.
but I was always under the impression, and what people that told me who were fans of Nine Inch Nails, that it kind of always was Trent Reznor.
Yeah, right.
That on the records, he basically played all the instruments.
Hmm.
He did have like a pretty, I would say maybe set lineup for a couple of years there.
Right. True.
That I remember one of the guys was Twiggy, was his guitar player for a good number of years during their heyday.
Mhm. Yeah.
Then I think he went on to play with Marilyn Manson,
Or vice versa.
somebody, I
Yeah.
forget,
Yeah.
whatever it was. He had kind of a set lineup for a little while there as a touring band, but I was always under the impression that Nine Inch Nails just was Trent Reznor. So
It could be.
that
Yeah.
that one I'm not
Yeah.
that one I'm not gonna be like, whoa, that. But I think it's a little bit different than, say, if if Bon Jovi went out and it's just John Bon Jovi with a bunch of other dudes, like, everyone kind of like knows the other
Well.
guy.
Yeah.
you know People are going to be like, "Well, this is screwed up. You don't have this guy." That like, I don't think anyone's sitting there going, "That's fucked up. He's not using the bass player from 1998." Like, people are just like, as long as Trent Reznor is there and
Yeah, yeah,
and he's into it, like I'm gonna go and see them.
of course, of course. Um, yeah, I guess I shouldn't shit on some of these bands for just trying to do it. I think the last category or section is, it's I guess it's those bands that did their reunions, they got back together, then they broke up, then they're back together, then they broke up again. The Motley Crue effect. Boys should have just called it a day in '92 when they dropped Vince and gone their separate ways, and probably reunited in the early 2000s to go back and play stadiums when people were nostalgic for it. But they did that reunion. They were stupid enough to say, let's put out new music. Then retired from touring again. Then went back out on the road again. Then, just, again, they're another stupid band that just, you wave cash in front of their faces and they half-ass when they go out there. They're literal thieves, Motley Crue is. Because they're, they have no business being on a baseball stadium stage, even if they're like third from the top with a bunch of bands. But it's the notoriety that cashes in, and they are happy to just take their mint and just put it right back in their pockets because they're fucking greedy as shit. But yeah, they're the top of that bill, top of that category of just money hungry, and we will put this pirate ship back together every couple years, and we'll just bleed our fan base dry, and it sucks.
Well, the biggest, slap in the face is like, look, I wouldn't expect that Vince Neil should look like 1986 Vince Neil.
Mm-hmm.
Nor would I expect him to sound like it. But my God, could you at least get into a little bit of shape?
Yeah, exactly.
And be able to enunciate or pronunciate, whatever, some of the lyrics, and not be like 2 seconds on stage huffing and puffing into a microphone and like and just being completely inaudible.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
That to me is like, hey, if you God bless you. If every 3-4 years, you want to. You want to roll out Mick Mars and have him propped up and have him play guitar, and you're going to play stadiums and all that. Like, could you at least be somewhat in shape and play
be polished?
The music?
Yeah.
At least sound like, hey, we rehearsed for a month or so before. Not like, oh man, like I got on a plane. I was drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels and. What songs are we doing?
Yeah,
like
right.
Oh, Vince just woke up 15 minutes before he went on stage. Like
you're just going out to party.
The videos of him the past year and a half. It's
terrible.
It's fucking embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. Like I feel bad for people who haven't seen those but if you see those videos and you actually still go buy a ticket. What a fucking sucker.
They fooled you. Yeah.
Oh my God.
They got one over on you. What about Leonard Skinner? It's another one it's just like they promised that this is their last tour, and slowly but surely, I know the big chunk of the guys died in the 70s, plane crash and everything. Slowly but surely, people, started to get in bad shape and die. Or replace this one with another Southern rock musician, and it's okay. We can still go out on a tour. It's right now. It's like Ricky Medlock and just a band of like pirates from, Georgia, Florida, and other Southern states that are still going out there. They're still calling it Leonard Skinner, and they're still they're another one that is just. They don't play big venues anymore. I think they're more like the state fair or they'll play a package tour. But for years they were like, we're going out, we're playing the hits, and just less and less of the original energy of Leonard Skinner was part of it. I think that thing should have been retired after the plane crash, but that's just me.
Here's the thing. If you're going out as like whether it's like the Allman Brothers Band or Leonard Skinner or whatever, that where you know there have been tragedies all along the years, and God, you know, to me, if it would be nice if the original band members
Hmm.
or the families were getting some sort of kickback. If you want to play it like a tribute, that's fine, as long as you're charging tribute band prices.
Sure. Yeah.
If you're going out as Leonard Skinner and you have the balls to charge like $200-300 for a ticket, then I probably have a little bit more of a. I mean, not that, not like I'm sitting there going, I probably wouldn't go to a Leonard Skinner show anyway, but you know, I it's one of those like,
Mm.
if you're gonna if you're just getting a somewhat of a fee, whatever it is to play these fairs or festival or something like that. If people want to go out and hear whatever the greatest hits played live for 45 minutes and they're not being raped over the coals, I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, to me, it's no different than just like, hey, you know what? There's a there's a Rolling Stones tribute band
Yeah, I
playing
guess.
down the road, and it's a $20 cover, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna go there, and you know what? I'm gonna have a couple beers, and I'm gonna listen to some guys play some Stones
Of
music
course.
for a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I really don't want to pay the astronomical fee to go see the real Rolling Stones right now at 80 years old.
That's true. Yeah.
I'll pay $20 and I'll listen to some clowns bang around on some songs off Sticky Fingers.
That's fair. Fair play. Fair play. Um, was there anything else notes wise that you had that you really wanted to bring up for the episode? Any bands that I left off that you were heartbroken that they split up and that they never reunited?
Well, the one that kind of bummed me out, and it's another one of those like they get back together, they break up, they get back, whatever. Like I was a little bit late on the bandwagon for Rage Against the Machine.
Mm. Okay.
Like the first real Rage record that I sat down and listened beginning to end was Battle of Los Angeles, and I really liked that album.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was kind of almost like kicking myself in the ass, like why did it take me so long to listen to, like why didn't I listen to their first two records? And it was almost like a kiss of death. Like I started listening to them and getting into them, and then they put that album, the covers out, and then boom, that was it. Like they
Mhm.
broke up.
Yeah. Right.
And there's been, the other three dudes got together. They did Audio Slave, which was kind of cool.
Well, didn't they just
And then they've got, it's been
recently,
like
right?
they got back together, but then like uh Zach De La Roca, I think like hurt his knee,
Mhm.
and they had to cancel a bunch of shows. And then there's always just something around them where it's like, again, whether maybe it's just Tom Morello, like nobody can just deal with him for a long period of time. I don't know what it is, but it just seems I know they did like they were doing a reunion, or they were doing like a tour during the pandemic, and there was a lot of shit about the money that they
Mhm.
were charging for shows, and then like they didn't give people a full refund back. They were kind of holding them hostage for a while, and but I know it's been spotty over the past couple of years. Like they kind of get back together, they do a couple of shows, then something happens, and then Zach kind of loses interest. He did that. They did that Prophets of Rage where they
Mhm.
had Chuck D and Be Real, and it was kind of like they did some Rage stuff. They did some hip hop song, like some Public Enemy and Cypress stuff or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
But that was kind of the one that like I would have really like I really would like in their heyday, I guess. Even though I don't, they could probably still put on a really good show, but um, to see them, especially that Battle of Los Angeles after that album came out, like it was one that kind of bummed me out when I heard that they broke up and
Yeah.
stuff.
You never know. You never know. I think there's I think the problem with them though is the last time that the tour fell apart, maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was. I think they were sort of like, all right, we're not capable of maintaining a relationship with each other right now. Let's put this on ice, and they did. So maybe one day.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, there's any kids out there? You kids,
children. Oh, because we're a kid show. Yep, kid show.
Teenagers, whatever,
Okay.
early 20s.
All right.
You're thinking about getting into a band.
Mhm.
If the two guys who write the songs insist on wearing costumes or makeup,
Here we go.
do not join that band. Do not get into a band where somebody else could dress up like you and replace you. I'm looking at you, Kiss.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Gwar, Slipknot, all these bands who have kicked people out and then made somebody else dress up as the other dude.
I think that's
so
easy.
All I'm saying is, if you're playing bass, you're playing you're playing guitar. If you're the drummer, and the lead singer and this guy are writing the songs, and they said, "Hey, man, we should totally dress up like blah blah blah."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just be like, I think we should put this to a vote, and I vote no, because I know when we make it big, and if I annoy you, you're going to kick me out and find another drummer and make them wear my costume, and that's it. I'm done. And then I'm on Eddie Trunk's show complaining about that. I don't know what I did. They just kicked me out of the band.
Yeah. The dumbfounded, the dumbfounded replies from people who were like, "Oh,
I don't.
We were a brotherhood."
I had one conversation with Gene, and I said, "You know what? I think instead of $350 a show, I should get $500." And then next thing I know,
there's a new
somebody
cat.
was dressing up as Ace Frehley.
Well, some of that might have been the booze. So there's a lot more factors at that. But I agree. Costume bands are a tough LARP.
Everyone said that the reason why Richie Sambor is not in Bon Jovi is because he had a drug and alcohol problem. The whole band had a drug and alcohol problem.
Yeah.
He got kicked out because he started talking to John about how much of the pie he wanted, a bigger piece of the pie,
Fair
of
split.
touring and all that. And then all of a sudden, his drug problem became an issue in the band, and they kicked him out. So that whole it's always about money. It's never about drugs or alcohol.
This is a real soapbox you're on. No costume bands. Don't get into a costume band, and also make sure it's a fair split ahead of time.
Or write it in your contract that they can't kick. Like, you kick me out, that's it. The costume comes with me.
That's right.
That's it. There's no cat in this band anymore, or Starman, or whatever.
That guy's got to be a fox. Well, that's what happened. Yeah.
You can have him wearing a hazmat suit, but he can't wear this type of mask in front of the hazmat suit because that's mine. I got the yellow boots.
I like your second career should be an entertainment lawyer, and you should just go to Battle of the Bands and be like, "Oh no, too much gimmickry on stage. You guys have to talk to a manager. You have to sort this out now."
Wait a minute. The two guys in charge of the band changed their name? No, don't sign any contract.
Nope.
They're using aliases? No. Don't do it.
Very good. All right. Well, I think that that puts a pin in this broken up bands discussion, and I think we covered a lot of bases without covering every single band that ever split up. Geez, be sad about certain bands that you never got to see live, but don't worry. If the money's right, that band may be ready to get on the road next summer and be fifth on the bill of a 90s alternative festival. So keep those fingers crossed. And if you do want to see some of these bands that just have one member, definitely make sure it's the singer.
Yeah. You're not going there to see the bass player.
Nobody. If Emerson, Lake and Palmer is coming to your town, just remember only you're getting is Palmer, and it's and he wasn't very charismatic. So
Lake carried that band.
rest in peace, Lake. Greg Lake. All right, so that voice on that side is the captain. I am Mike Madden. We're done with this walk down memory lane. We'll see you guys at the next show.
No costumes or gimmicks.